Well, welcome back. President Biden sending more than 3,000 troops to Eastern Europe to back up NATO allies, with thousands more on standby, ready to deploy. This marks America's first major move of U.S. forces in the Russia-Ukraine border standoff. Joining us right now is North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy. He's a member of the Ways and Means Committee and co-chair of the GOP Doctors Caucus. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much.
Good morning, Liz.
I know you're not on this committee, but I want to get your take on these troops going to Eastern Europe. I mean, if we're stopping Russia from invading Ukraine, what's the point of putting the troops near Poland?
Well, sadly enough, Liz, you know, with the debacle that occurred in Afghanistan, where the rest of the world sees how feckless the Biden administration is in foreign policy, I think they're just trying to do something, trying to make a symbolic movement. But I mean, you know, the truth is out. I mean, we care more about, or we're worrying more about the border in Ukraine than we have about an invasion of our own southern border. But trying to do something, and rather than being effectual, is seemingly what this administration is doing. Whether it shows our allies that we're with them, hopefully it does. We really need to regain some respect and actually belief in the American administration back with our allies. Whether this does this or not, or whether it's just a little toothless gesture, we don't know.
Well, look, it's hard to regain that credibility you're referring to with Americans so unhappy with the state of the country. The annual Mood of the Nation Gallup survey is out. It finds only 33% of people are actually satisfied with the state of the economy, a major decline from the 68% satisfaction we saw in 2020, right in the middle of a pandemic. Americans' feelings toward Washington even worse, only 30% satisfied with how government is working. 71% say that they are dissatisfied, Congressman. And of course, Joe Biden's polls are leading the other approval ratings in government down to the basement. Your thoughts on what this administration needs to do to start resonating with the American people?
Well, Liz, it's funny because, you know, I wonder who the heck are those 33% that support what the Biden administration is doing? Are they just tone deaf as the administration? What the administration needs to do is have an entire restart, literally from day one. If you look at the policies that we had during the Trump administration about our economy, about our ability to be a standing on the world stage, to actually have control of our southern border, these are the type of things, stand for law and order. If you look at so many of these things that are affecting Americans' daily life. Inflation, you go out to the gas pump, or you worry about being carjacked. You worry about so many of these things that really, heretofore a year ago, even in the midst of the pandemic, we were not even talking about. But sadly enough, this administration has been hijacked by the progressive left, which has no understanding of reality. Good Lord, look at what Susan Sarandon said this morning. They're going to need a total reset to actually gain some credibility back with the American public.
Yeah, I mean, the Susan Sarandon comment is just horrendous. Look, I want to ask you two questions, one on China, but one on policy, economic related, because you're on House Ways and Means Committee. What are your thoughts on the next major piece of business? The government runs out of money February 18th. You also have the Democrats trying hard to come up with any kind of salvaging of Build Back Better to try to get through that $555 billion in climate spending. What's next on the agenda, and how do you see the economic policy changing?
Yeah, Maria, sorry calling you Liz. Maria, it seems that this administration is now in a downward spiral towards the bottom because they've seen what they can't do, because the American people don't support it. How they rebuild that, actually, how they restructure. Here we are voting on a, quote, China competes bill, which gives billions of dollars to China. We're our greatest adversary on the planet, and they talk more about coral reefs. So who doesn't love a coral reef? But I mean, seriously, they're not taking the administration, they're not taking the American people and the economy and the stature of the country seriously. They're just continuing to double down on the being tone deaf, rather, on the American agenda.
Well, I mean, what about this China bill? The administration keeps dragging its feet on addressing the security risks around Chinese-owned TikTok. Now moving to revise federal rules for TikTok 8 months after deciding not to. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi introduces legislation that she claims would help the U.S. compete with China. But, Congressman, she's had a lot of opportunities to bring a bill to the floor on holding China accountable, but she refuses to do so. You've had no hearings whatsoever on the origins of COVID-19. And what's the story on TikTok, since we know that they're getting our children's data?
Yeah, without a doubt, it is just another form of how China has invaded our nation. They've invaded our schools, they've invaded our businesses, and now they're totally taking over what every child and every young adult does every day, and that's deal on social media. You know, Nancy Pelosi had a chance to actually do something, but she continues to put poison bills in poison points and pills in bills that actually help the progressive left push their climate agenda, rather than really dealing with the true enemy of the country right now. And point blank, that is the Chinese Communist Party. She's not dealing with them. And Maria, you know, I don't know what the Chinese have over President Biden, because why he will not attack them, well, he will not confront them, is just beyond me.
Yeah. Does the CCP have something on Nancy Pelosi as well?
Yeah. We don't know. But I mean, she's not been an effective leader, and it's no hearings, nothing. That's not the way you run government.
Congressman, thank you. We'll be watching. Greg Murphy joining us this morning in D.C. We'll keep the spotlight on it, and we'll be right back.